Welcome back to Relentless Talk Radio. This is segment 2. This is the health and fitness segment for Relentless Talk Radio. And I have Kelly Cameron Gofonia. And am I saying that right?
You are. Yes.
I am? That's cool.
Wonderful.
We were just talking about turning on a dime. And one of the things that I've let myself off the hook of this year, because it's menopausal and I just can't help it, is that I can't remember names, nor can I say them properly. I just apologize in advance to everyone I meet. Like, I'm going to be a bonehead later. Please don't take it personally. It's hormonally, I'm a mess.
No, you're
it's the one thing that happened to me. I guess I'll take it, right?
That's doable.
That's doable. So tell everybody who you are and what you do.
I'm Kelly Cameron Gofonia. I'm a mom and I'm a woman on a mission. I'm an advocate and champion of moms and sisters and best friends and coworkers and aunts and nieces. Women that have lost their passion and they're just feeling a little lost. They're lost their spark in life and maybe feeling overwhelmed or facing life transitions. So I support and collaborate with my clients to rediscover their passions and live a more fulfilling and happy life. That's what I do.
You know, you and I have this in common. Our missions are actually somewhat aligned, right? Yep. My mission is to encourage and lift others up so they can discover their best, right? Yep. Which is exactly what you do. We just do it in different ways.
Exactly.
So you're a member of my Relentless Business Alliance, and so I consciously am always looking for folks to send your way. And honestly, it's not hard to find them. There's a lot of us that have lost our passion or misplaced it.
Yeah.
Or haven't found it yet. I mean, I know a lot of people like, you know what? I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, right?
Exactly.
I mean, part of growing up is kind of figuring out what the hell that is, right? So why get into being a coach? Like, how did that happen?
Well, it was through a career transition for me. I think that these days we can reinvent ourselves multiple times. We don't have just one career or one life. After selling my business a few years ago, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I was working on my own self, my own transformation, and, working to live my best life. And I thought, well, if I can do this, I can certainly help other women that are in the same position or similar position. And it's just so much more fulfilling when you feel like you've got your passion and you've got more of a focus on what you want to do with your life.
You and I have this in common too. I love it when I find commonalities. We have had other businesses that we have run successfully and sold.
Yep.
Which is huge.
It is huge.
I mean, that's why you build a business to sell it. Right? I mean, a business that actually is like a brick and mortar and has like products and services especially.
Right.
But consulting businesses, I also believe, can be sold.
True. Absolutely.
It depends on how you're building it, right?
Absolutely.
So what's the biggest lesson you've learned as an entrepreneur who happens to have the same passion as me?
Well, I like your word of agile that you were talking about earlier, that really even the most challenging situation or thing that comes up in your business or your life in general, if you just look at it from a different perspective, you can solve that problem so much faster and easier than if you're just trying to look at it from the same perspective. So really just being agile and looking at it from a different perspective. So
dealing with ambiguity.
Yes.
That's another one that I really, for me, I think that entrepreneurs and successful leaders in large organizations, one of the things they do well is they manage ambiguity well. Mm-hmm. They realize there's more than one answer to a problem.
Yes. Seeking for clarity. Yeah, looking for clarity, right.
Yeah. So that's it. I think that's, for me, it's not just been a lesson I've learned as a business owner, but it's also been a lesson I've learned as a person.
Absolutely.
You really can't get stuck in who you thought you were and say, oh, I just don't do stuff like that. Good or bad, right? You always have an opportunity to go, oh, I do jump out of airplanes or whatever the case. I do, Mm-hmm. I do live in Arizona. How the hell did I get from Vermont to Arizona? Like I can. It's possible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you like to talk with people also about something that is, I think, very valuable about having a healthy relationship and staying out of toxic relationships, and how those toxic relationships have like just a colossally bad effect on everyone involved.
Yeah, I think relationships are so important because we're surrounded by other human beings. And so the ones that are in our lives, whether it's in a personal or family or career, professional, they're all relationships. And so how can you have more successful relationships and more successful connections with people? And so sometimes we find ourselves in a toxic relationship with, it could be a boss, a coworker, a spouse, a child, a parent. There's so many different dynamics, and it can really weigh on you. It can be very taxing on your mental capacity and emotions and just how you're seeing the world. It can be really challenging. And so that's one of my passions as well. Relationships, healthy relationships are so important.
I have been colossally pruning for the past 3 years anything that feels like ew.
Yep.
Like if I find myself in a conversation, in a relationship, fill in the blank, a relationship with an organization, a group, a person, a family member, or whatever, I find myself going, God, I'm not quite sure how to word this, or I find myself working too hard, and then I feel like all of a sudden, wow, this is a colossal waste of my flipping time.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is no longer a fit. This is toxic.
Right.
I have started to literally excuse myself from those relationships in a heartbeat because it's just too expensive.
Yes.
It takes too much energy, right?
Pulling in your boundaries and your standards to, like you said, prune and reserve your energy. If it's draining your energy, it's not a right fit.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that way about my diet too. I have an intermittent fasting program that I do every week where I remove the toxins from my body. The more I do that, the more I realize how much crap even my body has been hanging out with, right? So I've just been on a universal detoxification process in my life, universally.
I love that.
I'm so much flipping lighter. And I'm not talking about physical pounds. I'm talking about my spirit is lighter, for sure, right?
Mental,
so
spiritual.
The mental and spiritual, right? So you also have discovered that there's another area that you think is, and I agree with you here, the LGBT, which is lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered, correct?
And Q for queer and questioning, and there's a whole list.
And they added a Q to it. LGBTQ. They added a Q.
Yep.
I think that's super smart.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed a lot of posts lately about gender, he, she, it kind of stuff, which right? Which I don't understand, but I know it means something to them. All of a sudden, I realize I'm old and out of touch with certain things, and I think that if you're a parent and you're like me, like if you're a teenager, you're probably in your late 40s, early 50s. The questioning queer thing wasn't part of what we grew up with. So we don't know necessarily how to navigate that territory when it comes to our own children, right?
Exactly. So parents of LGBTQ youth, a lot of times they're not really sure how to navigate this new world. It's a lot broader than when we were growing up. And so just being a teenager in itself is very confusing and can be very treacherous and just right? It's such a huge time of change, both physically and hormonally and mentally, and everything is growing, and it's a confusing time. And so when you add in, I'm questioning my gender, or this isn't fitting for me, how as a parent do we support our kids, our preteens and teens in this journey? And so that's one of the things that I love to do is support parents in this situation. How do they best support and love their kids and help them, figure out who they are as people? Because it's really all about who we are, reconnecting to ourselves or connecting to ourselves for the first time. And then, we can worry about how you identify or how you're most comfortable presenting yourself to the world. But our kids are still our kids. They're still, the kids that, when they were growing up, their little quirks and personalities, they're still the same kids.
I was just thinking about just 50% of kids that are questioning commit suicide.
Yeah.
And my brother took his life. So this is a topic that really touches my heart, right?
Mine too.
And, my brother was struggling with mental illness, and my mom and dad didn't quite know how to deal with that. And they had to get agile pretty quick and learn, because one day my brother was okay, and the next day he was schizophrenic. I mean, it was like that. It was a cosmic shift. He literally shifted, and one day he was just not okay, and he was mowing the lawn with, a gun on his back, shooting at voices. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get that. Did not come with the owner's manual. Okay.
Definitely.
So when my brother took his life at 22 in my parents' dream house that is built, okay, my dad had built a brand new house, filled it with furniture. They were in it for 2 months, and my brother took his life in that house. My mother found him. So when I think about any parent going through what my mom had to go through and my dad had to go through, and not have the resources, just purely because a girl discovers that she loves a girl, or a boy discovers that he loves a boy. I just got chills as I'm saying that. This makes no sense to me, because what my brother was dealing with was gargoyles coming out of the trees. Okay. My brother was dealing with two voices in his head. He was a totally normal kid with rambunctious teenager. And then he just was not able to be alone in a room by himself. Right. This to me is like, okay, I can see how my brother made that decision. But when I think about, a child making a decision to take their life because they love somebody of the same gender, it literally kills me.
It's heartbreaking, absolutely heart-wrenching. And so the trans kids, there is a 50% suicide rate right now, and it's just so heartbreaking. And I through my kids, they have friends that have attempted, and it's just, so heartbreaking. So if I can help support parents on this journey to help support their kids and cut that rate down and save some lives, I'm all about that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that work. It's super important. I have a couple organizations that I'm going to hook you up with. One is Eric's House, which you must know about.
I do. Yep.
Right. So Eric's House is and was our friend Robert Grueller and his mom founded when his brother took his life, and that organization is there for families of people that have made that decision. And, that we just recently had a family have this experience actually last week. One of our friends' daughters took her life. And, my mom has been, literally bedside, right? So Eric's House is one of those resources. They also have a sibling support group, which I think that, for me as a sibling, there was nothing there. And this is the first time I've actually heard of a sibling support group. So that's really, really important. The other organization is called Teen Lifeline. Have you heard of them?
I have.
Yeah, so they're also another really great resource. But I love what you're doing. You're focusing on the parents pre-suicide, having to recover from that, and learning how to embrace, this where their kids at, and love them where they're at, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're on their own journey, but we can still love and support them however it is that they're going to show up in the world. That's our job and my passion. Yeah.
So the other question was, we talked about it a little bit already, about being agile and turning on a dime. When's the time in your life where you had to just like literally turn on your heel on a dime, drop of the hat, just make a decision and poof, go in a different direction?
Well, there's so many.
I know, right?
I would have to say this latest career transition. I got an opportunity to stay at home for a little bit with my kids and figure out how, what was my next best version of myself. And so struggling a little bit about, my business is gone, and, what do I want to do? So really soul searching. And then once I get my head wrapped around something, I go. It's quick. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm doing. And so going into coaching and helping and supporting and advocating for my clients, and knowing that they can turn on a dime too, especially through life transitions. There's a lot of people going through career transitions or retirement, or spouses are retiring, or parents are aging. there's so many different life transitions that require us to turn on a dime and to be more agile. So I help support that because life is always changing.
As you're talking, I was thinking about Doc not feeling well a couple months ago, and I wasn't able to get a hold of him via text, which is unusual. And long story short, his appendix had burst.
Ooh.
Right? Like it hadn't just ruptured, it had blown up, And so I went to get him, and we took him to the emergency room, and we whisked him into a surgery. Unfortunately, he had a successful surgery, and he's on the he's healed up at this point. But as I was sitting in the waiting room thinking, wow, my life could be changing dramatically right now. And that's usually how death is. Death or getting fired, or sometimes we like to plan for these things, and we like to plan for people getting out of, but usually most things, but that, I don't know, I'm not going to say most, it's an unfair generalization, but many things that cause us to have to turn a dime are completely unexpected, like a car accident or some kind of catastrophic event. And you best get used to making those decisions quickly, because that's just life, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, family members getting sick. I have a grandfather that's battling a mass in his lung right now, and it was completely unexpected. So yeah, you are agile and you turn on a dime. Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do people? Yeah, it's okay. The little pup in the background. See, like it's like, but he didn't get our permission to do the radio show during my nap. He's so funny. So how do people get a hold of you?
Through my Facebook page at In Your Truth Coaching, or by email at Kelly, Kelly at inyourtruthcoaching.com. Those are the best ways.
And you'll be actually posting some educational and inspirational stuff in the Relentless Talk Radio Health and Fitness group. I'm putting together the schedule for the tail end of the year and going into the new year, where people can go join that group. They can just click on the link. It's actually in the comments of this post. It's not active yet, but I'll make it active after the post, and they can become a member of the group and be inspired by you on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Yay. Okay. Well, Kelly, I really appreciate you coming on. I know that you and I are working on some type of seminar or retreat or something that we're going to do that unites both of our passions to help people discover their best. And I'm looking forward to figuring out what that is.
Me too.
And I look forward to hiking with you again. You're a real trooper. You hiked Camelback a couple months ago, and I was just pre-show, so I was in pretty good shape. And I think I may have almost killed you, but I really appreciate
I'm still here.
Right? I made you get up at sunrise and run up that mountain. So you're a trooper, and I really enjoyed spending time with you. So I look forward to seeing you again. And thanks for coming on Relentless Talk Radio.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate it.
Take care.
Take care.
So stay tuned, everybody. Come on back to see Jason and Catherine Hugger, who are an artist team, talk about Jason's art and some of the new things they're doing. They have 3 events coming up in November. So if you could tune out of here and tune back in a couple seconds, I will be back with the Huggers. Thanks a lot, guys.